Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Mull for Saturday, the 19th of March. With Robert Murray McShane, we read the 5th chapter of Paul's letter to the Galatians, where Paul continues the discussion of the balance between the law and the gospel. And he says we are children of the gospel. We've been set free from the law, and we must stand on that freedom. He begins the chapter, "It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then, and do not let yourself be burdened again with the yoke of slavery." And he's saying to the Galatians, if you start trying to keep the law and start trying to hold the dietary requirements, if you're going to be circumcised, if you're going to start trying to justify yourself with the law in the Old Testament, you're going to have lost your faith. Instead, you need to hold on to the freedom that you have, that you've been freed from the requirements of the law by faith. But that doesn't mean that we can do what we like. In verse 13, he then goes on and says, "You, my brothers, were called to be free, but do not use your freedom to indulge the sinful nature. Rather, serve one another in love." The entire law is summed up in a single command: love your neighbor as yourself. And so he says, even though we've been freed from the requirements of the law, in terms of being justified, in terms of getting right with God, in terms of getting into heaven, we do still have the law to say this is how we should live. And we need to remember that we don't keep the law, we don't do those kind of things, we don't have our religious duties, we don't read the Bible and pray and go to church in order to get into heaven, in order to become children of God. We do them because we are children of God. We do them because we're preparing ourselves for a heaven which is waiting for us. It's assured. We have that promise of Christ. But we shape our lives by the gospel so that we can reflect more and more the nature of our Father. And so as Christians, we hang on to the freedom that we're not going to get into heaven by our works, ever. But we use our freedom not to live as the pagans do, but to try and live lives which more and more closely resemble Jesus. That's our call. That's our glory. And that's our hope. Be blessed.